Okay, it's 6:30 p.m. on Thursday, June 27th. Notice is hereby given that the regular meeting of the City Council of the City of Sandy Oaks, Texas is being held today, Thursday, June 27th, 2019 at 6:30 p.m. at the Sandy Oaks City Hall located at 4451 Hickory Haven, Sandy Oaks, Texas, 78112, for the purpose of considering the following agenda items. All agenda items are subject to action. Item number 1 is a quorum call. Ms. Shelton?
Alderman Friendly.
Here.
Alderman Rapino.
Here.
Alderman Walker.
Here.
Alderman Thomasini.
Here.
And Alderman Garcia is absent, but you do have a quorum.
Thank you. All stand for Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And our guest is not here. We do have a guest, but he is not here at the moment, so we'll bring him back when he arrives. We'll move on to item number 4, citizens to be heard. This item allows the public to address the City Council on issues affecting the community and the city. Thank you. Please note that the Texas Open Meetings Act prohibits the City Council from responding, commenting, or discussing items or topics during this portion of the meeting that are not included on the agenda. This item will be open for up to 30 minutes with 3 minutes to each speaker. If there are more than 10 speakers, each will be given 10 minutes.
2 minutes.
2 minutes, sorry. We'll be here all night. Okay, first person up, Grace Alvarado.
The reason I'm here tonight is I had recently, or before I had asked a question regarding software for a community citizen that was concerned that items weren't put in Spanish. And I did speak to an alderman, and he said that the software was way too expensive. So if you'll indulge me, I'll read this. It came up again. She asked me again, and I said I would address it. It says, we have heard many comments on the issues of the park, the animal control, the city master plan, the marshal, and the truckers. Many citizens, other than the truckers and their families, have reached out to me. We have a property owner whose concern is the possible fines for violations and ordinances. Because she is elderly and cannot afford to keep up with the yard work, that's her concern. But because her first language is Spanish, she's concerned because she feels she is kept in the dark because she cannot go and look for herself and read the ordinances or the agendas. I told her I would ask about this, and I did ask the alderman before. The response was the software is too expensive and that we don't have the funds. I did express, my concern with this alderman saying that here we are spending thousands on animal control, and a citizen that pays her taxes and expects her elected officials to do the right thing. You have made her feel, and this were her comments, as though she is less important than an animal. This animal shelter is supposed to be just a holding unit until the animals are sent to a rescue or fostered out. This shelter you want to purchase is more like a day spa or luxury hotel. I mean, I saw it. It looks really nice. $45,000. Who knows how much more it will cost? This should be a holding shelter only, and a basic structure adhering to guidelines. And compare it to the software. To use for translation of any language needed, not just Spanish, but any language needed. This is to serve our community better. This is something you know exactly how much it's going to cost. You don't wonder, you don't think, oh, it might go up. This is it. You can find out the cost and present it. And you only have that expense once. It's not an ongoing expense. So I am asking for her, what is the problem? You say that there are surplus of funds. Someone else said you can always allocate funds for immediate use. You keep referring to other cities. Well, other cities have this. They have translated the ordinances. This is so much more important than an overly priced holding shelter. Citizens should be first. Thank you.
Thank you.
And the next person signed up for me in case I went long.
Pedro Camacho,
Yeah.
okay. And Karen Mendiola.
I don't have a speech here. I was looking at the city marshal number 6 and a Chevy Impala that's going to be retrofitted for the Marshall area. I know you spoke to a couple citizens who wanted me to actually say they didn't think a Chevy Impala was the right vehicle for our terrain because it's so sandy loamish and they might get stuck chasing a criminal maybe and need to get towed out of the sand. So I just wondered if it's under the marshal, you know, if you're considering it for the marshal, maybe another vehicle could be. I was just wondering too why we wouldn't wait for a marshal to come because he may not agree with the vehicle itself and might recommend another one. I'm sure it was maybe a good buy. Maybe we can give it to the clerk to run around and do her duties since she's been using the vehicle, her own vehicle, and think about something else. So that's what they were concerned about is spending money on a Chevy Impala that may not be efficient. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 5, consent agenda. All matters listed under consent agenda are considered routine by the City Council of the City of Sandy Oaks and will be enacted by one motion. There will not be separate discussion of these items. If discussion is desired, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separately. We only have 2 items on there, and I'm going to remove item B, the minutes from June 13th. They're not quite done yet, so that leaves item 5A.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Okay, we have a motion by Alderman Rapino to approve the consent agenda,
Second.
and a second by Alderman Tremblay. Can I have a show of hands of those in favor? That's unanimous. Okay, thank you. Item number 6, discuss and/or possible action on approving the quote from Southwest Public Safety to retrofit the 2012 Chevy Impala. So you should each have this page here in front of you, and basically what was done, Ken got in touch with Southwest Public Safety based on the retrofit that was done on the Ford Explorer and gave him the model of the vehicle we purchased, and this is the quote they came back with to retrofit that Impala. Of course, we're removing sales tax because that does not apply. Any?
Council's information, that vehicle be delivered on Monday.
So this is one of those things that we just kind of have to do. Included in this is some of the graphics, not all of the graphics, for the, like, call 911, and I think it said
And
deter
not
and something like that.
And not
Yeah.
all the lights either, right?
Yes, lights are on here. Light bar.
It's got the light bar.
Because we have another one with lights.
Well, that's different.
They're different lights?
That's
Okay.
that's for a different vehicle.
I move to approve the estimate from Southwest Public Safety to retrofit the Marshall vehicle in the amount of $12,146.07.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Alderman Tremblay to approve the estimate from Southwest Public Safety to retrofit the 2012 Impala for the estimate of $12,146.07, and we have a second from Alderman Rapino. Can I get a show of hands of those in favor? It's unanimous. Okay. The second item under the marshal is discuss and or possible action on approving the quote from Screen Impressions for the door decals for the Chevy Impala. And these are the logo. This is the actual logo for the city of Sandy Oaks. And Screen Impressions did it for us before, and there is no setup. They waived the setup on this since they've done the work for us before. So it's $250 for the door decals.
I make a motion to approve the action on approving the quote for the screen impression for the door decals for the 2012 Chevy Impala
Okay,
for
$250.
$250.
Okay, we have a motion by Alderman Rapino to approve the quote from Screen Impressions for the door decals for the 2012 Chevy Impala for $250. Do we have a second?
I second.
Alderman Walker seconds. Can I get a show of hands of those in favor? It's unanimous. Item C, discuss and or possible action on approving the cost for installation of the lights, brush guard, and gun rack on the City Marshal's Expedition. That's the second one that you're talking about. Now, the items have already been purchased. What didn't happen was the cost to install them. He didn't provide that with the original action. So the items are here, and this is the cost. Did you, Catherine, did you confirm that they'll still honor?
Yeah, and I don't know, did I make y'all a copy with the name under the bottom? At the
Yeah.
bottom of the page?
Chris, yeah.
Chris? Okay.
Billy? Mine says,
Chris.
oh, Chris there.
So, Marshall Lee Botter had obtained these quotes, but then we did call on Monday to confirm that these quotes would still be in place.
Mhm.
So from Southwest Public, 720 would be for the lights
Right,
and the gun rack.
the lights and the gun rack.
Yes. From Extreme Lighting would be the lights only, the LED lights. And then from the auto repair shop would be just the brush guard and the gun rack. My word
Wait,
is,
I thought you said the gun rack was on, oh, so we have
Well,
two
I mean-
quotes for it.
yeah, you got two
Got it.
quotes for the gun rack or two quotes for the lights. My concern with Extreme Lighting though is we already have the system for the console.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if they are knowledgeable to how to tap into that.
Ah, and Southwest
And
Public
Southwest
Safety
Public
does,
Safety.
yeah.
So if we went with them, we would still need a quote to install. Well, they'll install the gun rack, but they will not install the brush guard. Southwest Public Safety. So you
jeez.
still need someone to install the brush guard.
So what exactly is the 720 for?
The
All
lights
the lights
and the gun rack.
and the gun rack.
The second page is lights only, and the third page is the brush guard and the gun rack.
So,
I don't know how much it would be if we took the gun rack.
so we're
off.
talking a total of 920.
Seven?
Well,
No.
no, 720 and 200, 920, yeah.
Yeah.
If you split it between the first page and the third page.
You'd have to get them looked on from the you know, half the price of the gun rack first. Separated out.
How
So
much?
They will install the gun rack, Southwest.
Yes.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
and the lights, and that's what she was saying was,
So we're just-
they have
we're
the
just missing brush
expertise to
guard.
do, yeah, the brush guard is the only
It seems
thing.
like the only one that we got a quote for the brush guard was the repair shop.
So you'd have 720 on Southwest Public Safety and then 200 on Chuck's Auto Repair for the brush guard.
Correct.
All right, I move that we approve the Southwest Public Safety costs for 720 as well as the $200 install for the brush guard for a total not to exceed $920.
Okay.
I'll second that.
So we have a motion by Alderman Tremblay to approve the $720 for Southwest Public Safety and the $200 for Chuck's Auto Repair to install the lights, the gun rack, and the brush guard on the Ford Explorer, not to exceed $920. Can I get and we have a second by Alderman Rapino. Can I get a show of hands in favor? That's unanimous, okay. Okay. Item 7, discuss and/or possible action on responses to RFQ for banking services. I put this back on here for you because at our last meeting we touched on it.
Right, I spoke to the gentleman yesterday at Frost, and I think he called Ken, was it yesterday he did?
Today.
Today he called, and we will have the RFP by next week.
Okay, so there will be no action on this one. And we should have an RFP by next week.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I'm trying not to get too deep into a discussion in case the auditor shows up. I'm trying to find a topic that we can touch on. Well, okay, so let's go on to 7B, discuss and/or possible action approving a contract with Mendez Engineering for the city's master plan. So there's some good news on this one, thanks to Mr. Roberts. We budgeted $75,000 for the master plan, and you can see here that the contract is significantly less than that. I do have a question on this contingency. What would that cover?
That is if he has to go to great extent on outreach to get people to participate, and if in fact that should happen, but it's just a contingency for right now.
So the low number is 43, and with the contingency, it's 48.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And
You
then
mean
that
they have to mail out
5,000,
or something?
yes, sir. That 5,000 is a guesstimate.
If the total exceeds the 48, do we get notification of that before that exceeds and gives us an opportunity to
Yes,
relook
ma'am.
at it? Okay.
And I would ask only that you approve the amount, because the language is still in flux between the city attorney and Mendez, and your approval is contingent upon the city attorney approving the verbiage that's in the contract.
Right.
And that notification language can be put in the contract. if
It can,
would
okay.
exceed the 5,000.
What does, on the back, what does no design plans of any kind mean?
Well, for the master plan, they would not be liable to design any improvements. That would come to our consulting engineer.
Right.
So we'd be approving the,
Just the price.
just the services minus the contingency to start.
No, sir, I
Go
would
for the-
think that
Do
we
the whole
want to
thing?
approve the contingency within it, but we could
Not
stipulate
to
that
exceed.
before any draw on the contingency, because in our negotiation, I asked him about the billing, and the billing will be at the completion of each task, 1 through the public engagement contingency. So we would only be paying for the completion of each one of those task groups. Meaning that the public engagement contingency would be yet to be billed only after it's completed, and it is not to exceed $5,000.
And if I'm not mistaken, he said this could take 3 months, is that right?
I think he's being very optimistic, saying 3 months.
Okay. Well, and I'm just looking at it from a budgeting perspective here. So in this case, because each task is broken out separately, we would account for those that are completed or in process in the current fiscal year, and we'd roll the rest into the next year?
No, ma'am. I
The whole
think
project?
The whole
For this
project
year?
will be included in this year's.
Got it, okay.
Once he starts, then
Okay.
it would be a authorized charge to this fiscal year.
Got it, okay.
Okay, and it doesn't include change orders, there's no change orders,
I
right?
told him I was adamantly opposed to change orders and wouldn't entertain it.
And he still wanted to do business with you?
I probably won't get a Christmas card from him, but that's okay.
I understand this is a scope of services. Will we require in the contract some type of suspenses or completion dates?
Well, sir, that's really gonna be up to him. Because if you look at it like the initial meeting, that's gonna take some front-end work to get people, one, we've gotta go through P and Z, that'll be first. Then with you folks, and then to draw in the public. And that's the part, in my view, that's most important. Because without the input of the citizens, the master plan's not worth the paper it's written on.
All right,
I understand. My own concern is that I know that a lot of citizens are anxious to get things done.
Yes, sir.
That's my reason for trying to input some type of suspense dates for completion.
Well, we
And I understand that the ball's in their court once they
Right.
start. I understand
And he
that.
was chomping at the bit before we had a contract, and that's no good. He was already ready to set up his initial meeting with P and Z and with the council and said, no, not until after the contract's signed. So he's ready. Getting him started, I don't think is gonna be an issue. And if I see it that it's gonna be, I'll let you know.
I would have liked to have seen a time frame on each task. 1 to 3 months,
That's pretty much what I was
3 weeks.
getting at.
Yeah.
Mayor, can you talk?
I'm sorry, what?
I
Wow,
don't think
I've
he's
never
in
been
a
accused
position
of
to
not
give
being
you a
able to be heard.
timeline until after he gets his feet wet. There's nothing to preclude him coming to each council meeting and reporting his progress. We can stipulate that.
Can we propose a completion date?
I,
I think it's important that the council and the citizens understand the time frame to expect. I don't know how long any of this is going to take. That's why we're entertaining an engineering firm to do this for us.
and you're talking about, we're going on fresh dirt here. We have no earthly idea. But to say that this thing is going to drag on for 6 months, no, I don't think so. 3 months, I think that's
Ambitious,
very.
yeah.
We can put a not longer than date in,
Sure.
in effect,
And assign a penalty if it goes beyond it. That's well within your purview.
because it's pretty hard to predict, because there are a lot of intangibles to, you know, we have to have meetings, there are things that come up that might preclude a meeting, we may miss a date or something like that, so
He won't control all that. I mean,
No, we can't.
yeah,
No.
he'll have to schedule meetings
I-
and stuff like that.
So I just think that maybe a no longer than date.
6 months.
Yeah, something like that.
6 months.
And I think he's gonna be pushing the limit to get it done in 6, if it's a worthwhile document. Because this thing's gonna lay out where the city's gonna go for the next 5 to 10 years. And yes, some of that's gonna be blue sky, and some of it's gonna be a guesstimate, but if we don't have a plan that the citizenry can refer to that reflects their input, then we're wasting our money.
Exactly. So we could approve the price
With the contingencies.
with the contingencies that we've talked about, and then the attorney could address those. Actually, you could address it with him first.
Well, if I may, I would feel more comfortable if the attorney would redline what he sent us. I send that to him, and then he either complies or he doesn't have a contract, and we go to somebody else.
So we're only approving on price, not a contract?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then we can bring it back, hopefully at the next meeting, we'll have a contract
Yes, ma'am.
with the contingencies in there.
So you've actually given this to them, for them to breeze over before we
Oh, yes, sir. This is
initialize
his
the
Yeah, that
document.
came from him.
the contract?
It came from them,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So do we need a motion to
We
approve the
do.
Scope of work. Mhm.
scope of work and the price of $43,000 with the public engagement contingency of an additional $5,000 for a total of $48,000 for a plan, the scope of work for the
And you want to direct the attorney to,
and we want to direct the attorney to redline the contract
And if I may, put an extension, or put a drop dead date of 6 months for completion.
and put a no later than completion date of 6 months
Yes, sir.
in
Okay.
that contract.
okay, so we have a motion by Alderman Rapino to approve the scope of services as presented for the price of $43,000, to also add $5,000 for public engagement contingency, and authorize or direct the city attorney to redline the contract to include a term for completion of not longer than 6 months. And do I have a second on that?
I'll second.
We have a second from Alderman Thomasini. Can I get a show of hands of those in favor? That's unanimous, okay. And I do not see our auditor here yet. Okay, we'll move on to, and Ken, you're gonna take care of that with Kim.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Okay, item 8A, Public Works. Discuss and/or possible action on approving the cost to install an ADA compliant ramp with handrails at the covered pavilion. So, that was the original plan, was we thought about a ramp with rails, but we have an alternative that should be cheaper. And so there should have been some pictures each of you had here. So this picture here, this is where the ramp was originally going to go. And it would allow it's this picture of the blue one. It would have allowed the handrail to be mounted on the side of the building. And then there's plenty of room for the slope from the sidewalk to the edge of that building. And then to put a handrail on the other side. You need handrails on both sides. As an alternative, on the second page, what you see there is standing on the concrete, the existing concrete that was there from the pool, and Chris has taken something and cleared out the edge of the concrete just for definition. And that concrete slab and that sidewalk are the same level. So the thought was to pour another slab to join those two, then you don't have to have handrails. And it's just a matter of an additional concrete pour and tying into the two. What we don't have is an actual quote for doing that. Chris? Did you have a rough estimate on just materials and labor for, let's say, 5 foot?
No, not yet. And the reason why why is because it wouldn't be just 5 feet, so it really is like a triangle.
Exactly.
So it'd go like 4 feet to 7 feet.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So depending on how wide or big you want the sidewalk, that would determine the estimate. But I couldn't get anybody to get an estimate.
So if we wanted to approve for a not to exceed number, we're not prepared to do that? $1,000?
I would say so.
Maybe more than that.
You can go lower.
Well, and the only reason that I bring that up is when we talked about the one on the side of the building, I think we talked about maybe $400 just for the concrete work. That did not include the handrails. And then this way, it would just be the concrete. Do you want to see if we can get it, go ahead and approve a not to exceed? See what the quote comes in at. If it's less than that, then we can move forward, and if not, we'll bring it back.
Yeah, I mean, it's cheaper than the rails themselves would cost more than $1,000.
Oh, yeah.
And just $400 for the concrete there, you figure another $1,000, we're probably looking at $1,500, $1,800 to put it on right near the building.
Right.
I think it's safer over here where you're talking about because it will be level.
Right.
There's no slope at all.
Right.
Handrails aren't required. I think it would save maybe, I move we approve a cost not to exceed $1,500 just to be safe for concrete
Concrete and labor materials.
and level.
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion by Alderman Tremblay to approve a cost not to exceed $1,500 for labor and material to bridge the soil between the sidewalk and the concrete pad. And we have a second by Alderman Rapino. Can I get a show of hands of those in favor? It's unanimous. Okay, thank you. And I see our guest has arrived, so we will back up to item 3. I'm sorry. Oh, sorry. I didn't know he went in there. We'll just take a little break here.
That's not an indication
Well, I don't want to, because I don't have anything else that's short that we could get through. Did you get a chance to go look at the pavilion? That's right, you did. I knew somebody was with me, I just couldn't remember who. Mr. Byer, you're up. And you're looking mighty spiffy this evening.
Thank you.
So this is a presentation from Wayne Byer with Byer & Company regarding the fiscal year 2016-2017 audit, discussion, and/or possible action. Oh, but we have one of these,
Oh, thank you.
the T-Cole invoice.
Thank you.
They've got it on, I know.
With a T on it.
Oh.
That's one I had written on it.
Who got the T?
Somebody got a T on the
That's
book.
not me.
On the outside?
Yeah.
Does anybody's book have a T on the outside?
I didn't get one put by name for my records.
No? Okay.
A T, I'm gonna grab
There's
one.
none in that chair right there.
You can have on both of them.
There's one behind.
Oh, here's one right there.
Oh, is that from?
And here's the rest of them. I think that gentleman wants.
Oh, what?
No, he's got one, he's just looking.
Oh.
He wrote in one of them, that's why.
I made some
Oh,
notes.
that's yours.
No, no,
The
no.
T stands
He
for
wrote
traffic.
on it because we had him earlier and there was a minor thing that they had to change, so.
You take a picture?
I gave you. And maybe you can get a mic so we can hear you.
Here, take
Want
one.
to sit down?
No, I speak long enough. No, I don't want that one. Good evening. And everybody in the city council has a copy of the audit report. There's an insert, one-page insert in the report. I'll do that last, and I'd like to go through the audit report first. Ask you to turn to pages 1 and 2 of the report. and I am Wayne Meyer. I have an auditing firm in Pleasanton. We audit cities and counties. On page 1 and 2 is our opinion letter. There's basically four types of opinion letters. This is what we call a qualified opinion, which means that everything was just fine except we had a couple of things that the city still needs to do to get to be from a qualified to an unqualified opinion. I also want to say that the primary purpose of performing an audit is expressing an opinion on the financial statements, and this is our opinion. I might refer you to page 1 where it says auditor's responsibility. It says our responsibility is to express opinions on these financial statements based on our audit. We conducted our audit in accordance with auditing standards generally accepted in the United States of America. What that means is that we have rules and procedures we must follow when we perform an audit. Saying the same rules and procedures that every auditing firm in the country has to follow. And we're stating there we did follow those rules and procedures. On the top of page 2, it says, basis for a qualified opinion, the city has not adopted a percentage of uncollectible methodology ordinance, fixed asset methodology ordinance, or a computer policy. And those are pretty easy to do and adopt, and once you adopt those, then you will no longer have a qualified opinion. I think the city manager is very familiar with that. We'll get her done. Next, just turn over to page number 15 of the report. On page 15 of the report is the general fund. This is the budget last year for the city. And you notice there's 4 columns on the budget. That first column is your original budget as adopted. That second column is your final amended budget for last year. Third column is your actual income and expense figures, and then that last column is your budget variance column. If you look at the second column, if you go, first of all, let's just go to the third column, 3 lines from the bottom. You notice that your net changes in fund balance, or the gain, if you will, or the excess of your revenues over your expenditures last year is $220,000. If you go down one line, you had a beginning fund balance, reserve, if you will, of $209,000. So those two combined gave you an ending reserve of $429,000 in the city. And if you compare that, if you go up in that third column, about 4 or 5 lines, if you compare that with your total expenditures last year of $166,000, you have about a 2.5 to 1 coverage. I'm sorry, 250% coverage. So compared to your expenditures last year, you probably have about a 2.5-year coverage of your expenditures last year. If you compare that to your final amended budget last year, which would be in that second column, about 5 or 6 columns from the bottom of $408,000, you have well over a year of coverage of your final amended budget. So your reserves at the end of the year are quite good. Looking at your expenditures, and this is what at the very top on your revenues. On your revenues last year, in that third column, you had actual revenues of $386,484 last year. You had a budget, or final amended budget amount of $386,955. So you came in under budget of about $511 last year. On your expenditures, you had a budget expenditures of $408,000. You spent $166,000. So your expenditures came in under budget by $242,000. So that's what gave you the surplus for the year of $220,000. What this tells me, just from an outsider looking at your financial statement, that the city is extremely conservative when it comes to budgeting and staying within their budget. That insert in the beginning of the report, I'm going to go through that. We call that an internal control letter. Let's find mine. Thought I had one. Thank you, sir. The internal control letter, I'll just go ahead and read them. If the city council has questions, please don't hesitate to ask me. The first one would be administrative. We noted that the city does not have a fixed asset methodology, percentage of uncollectible methodology, an ordinance for property taxes, or a computer policy in place. We recommend the city adopt and implement these policies, which shouldn't take very much to do at all. Invoice exam, the city was unable to locate 2 invoices chosen for testing. We recommend the city keep all invoices on file for auditing purposes. You said you found one, you have one?
Yes,
Why
so,
didn't they tell us?
well, the Texas Commission on Law Enforcement, Catherine sent that in. It took some digging to do, but she found it.
Yeah, I think it was late May, so.
Yeah. The other one for Ernest Mascaro, we have no idea what that was for.
Send it again, and then we will send it to Glenn's attention, and then we'll change that to 1 invoice.
Yeah.
Cash, we noted 2 refunds issued in cash by Home Depot in the amount of $426 and $445. We could not find either cash amount in the general ledger, so we're unable to determine where the cash went. Recommend the city ensure that all refunds be traced to the respective bank account where monies were deposited. Do you issue receipts? Does the city issue receipts for cash monies, any kind of monies?
Yes.
received?
Well, they had them previously and we are now. If somebody needs to be reimbursed for something, you have on file
Yeah.
that they submitted receipts for cash.
Yeah, I don't reimburse anyone that.
So what do we do about this missing money here? What is our recourse on this?
I think we discussed that at our ex. Yes. You want to address?
Yes, sir. If in fact it is as it appears that during the 17 fiscal year, not this past fiscal year, but the one before it, cash was taken in, it was not recorded to the general ledger, and then expenditures were made from that cash, the amount would indicate that the DA's not going to do anything with it, but I think if we may, we need to refer this to the JP and then get a letter from him or her as to what is or is not going to be done to try to recover these funds.
Okay. And you would do that
Yes,
for?
ma'am.
Okay.
Okay, on the second page, segregation of duties. Due to the limited number of people working in the office, many critical duties are combined and given to all available employees. To the extent possible, these duties should be segregated to serve as a check and balance on the employees' integrity and maintain the best control system as possible. Well, what they're looking for, as I explained earlier at our exit interview, they're looking for a staff of about 25 people who work in the accounting department. And that they don't make a distinction between like a city the size of San Antonio and a city the size of Sandy Oaks. So they're not going to change. They're going to hold most cities to the same standard. So it's always going to be in there. I did explain at our exit interview, one of the things that can be done is have the city council get very, very, very involved in the everyday operations of the staff here. That would entail good oversight, either the council choosing somebody to maybe come in here and look at activities that go on, cash collections, tax collections, and so forth, or alternate. There's one other thing can do. I know other cities what they're doing. Probably cities larger than this one, where they would actually get somebody from the outside to be, work as, what they call it, internal auditor. They have these people around, people that actually used to do auditing, they got tired of putting up with all the rules, and they want to do internal auditing for cities, and they would come in like, say, once or twice a month and look things over. That seems to work the best, really.
Okay.
And they don't, doesn't usually cost all that much. That would get rid of this comment also. So, and if you want me to give you names, I can do that. An administrative, we noted that the city does not have a certified investment officer. I guess you have one now, though.
Yes.
You got it. Vendor list. We noted there were no addresses listed for several vendors. We recommend the city update its vendor list and make changes to it as they occur to ensure that the list remains current at all times. This is very important to do. Keep it good. Current vendor list. Next one would be under administrative. We noted the city secretary is being paid, I should say was, back when we audited this, 2017, was being paid as contract labor. The city needs to be paid as an employee. Accounts payable, we noted the city is making late payments. We recommend that these city pay all invoices in a timely manner and prior to the due dates to avoid late fee penalties and finance charges. One other thing, I want to go back to this segregation of duties one. Another thing I talked about is maybe from the mayor and the city manager, or the mayor and one of the council members, or a couple of y'all make an appointment with Glenn in our office. She's the standards person. You know, she can tell you which, you know, like the minimum to do to get rid of this segregation of duties comment. But it's going to have to be something, you know. You're going to have to have some kind of affirmative, do something affirmative or to get rid of it. Another thing I want to say is very important, you know. That segregation of duties came about with the Enron debacle, you know, when Enron went under and had all these problems. And Congress just went ahead and adopted a law or passed a law where all these, at first the publicly traded companies had to have, in addition to a regular audit, they had to have an internal control audit. And now everybody has to have that. So it just kind of trickled down to everybody having to have, in addition to a numbers audit, they have to have an internal control audit. So that's why that comment is in there. That's about all I have.
So the internal audit would aid us in the annual audit because a lot of the deficiencies could be caught and corrected.
You get yourself a good experienced CPA, or if it's not a CPA, someone who can add and subtract and who's had experience in governmental accounting. Yes.
Okay. Well, that's good feedback. Did anyone on the council have a question for Mr. Byer? What, I saw that Catherine has sent to Glenn already this missing invoice, so what would be the outcome from that? We're still going to have a missing invoice.
Same one, just goes from 2 to 1.
From 2 to 1,
If you
okay.
have one missing invoice, they want to rip that.
Okay.
So we can reiterate to everyone, this is from 2017. I know you said last
26
year a couple of times.
Yeah, 2016 to 2017.
2016 to 2017.
Correct. So, yeah, we have to do one for every year. Any other questions, comments? No? Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
I think you actually to accept the
To
audit.
accept
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, we do need to do that. Need a motion to accept the audit as,
I move to accept the FY 2017 audit report.
okay, we have a motion by Alderman Rapino to accept the fiscal year 2017 audit report,
Second.
And a second by Alderman Thomasini. I'm sorry, Alderman Tremblay. One of y'all's got to change the name. Can I get a show of hands of those in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you. Thank you for coming out. Be safe.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, we're going to move on to item 8B, Public Works. Discuss and/or possible action on ordinance number 2019-136, creating a park advisory committee, and repealing ordinance 2017-73. So, with the pavilion in place, we're tweaking last final things that we need to do on that. I know that we had an ordinance from 2017 that created a park committee, but nothing ever came from that. So I thought it might be something to consider to create an advisory committee instead that is made up much like the animal control and the P&Z, where we bring citizens in, let them make the recommendations to the council on things such as how do you want to utilize the pavilion? Do we need to buy tables or picnic tables or barbecue grills or lights or whatever? What other things in the park would need to be considered? I've heard some people ask about baseball field or a soccer field or volleyball. You know, are the walking paths adequate? Do we want to have items in the park for the kids, you know? So I think that's probably best done by recommendations from people on a committee and provide that to the council. So we would need a representative from the council to chair it, and then have citizens who would be willing to volunteer to serve in that capacity. And in the ordinance that was written for this, I was talking with Cassandra. We wanted to elaborate a little bit on here. Under section 1, it says the city council hereby creates a parks advisory committee to act in an advisory capacity to the city council on the operation of city parks and recreational activities, and solicit funds and donations for the maintenance and operation of city parks and recreational activities. The Parks Advisory Committee shall advise the City Council on the adoption of rules and regulations necessary to plan, promote, supervise, and regulate all recreational activities to be offered by the city. The part there where it says the Parks Advisory Committee shall advise the City Council on the adoption of rules and regulations, we were going to insert, and recommend use and purchases necessary to plan, promote, supervise, and regulate all recreational activities to be offered by the city. Because that's whatever, you know, if there's a purchase that needs to be made. I mean, maybe we need sports equipment. I'm not sure what all some of the ideas would be that would be coming from them. And we would have to also in section 2 designate how many members that could be nominated by the mayor or the council to serve there. And then of course appoint a chair from the council.
Actually, not today. Not appointing the chair.
I'm sorry?
Not appointing the chair today.
We're not? Oh, because that's,
Yes.
well, it's in here.
No, I saw, actually, you removed the,
It says the city council shall appoint a chair and co-chair. Oh, so we have to approve the ordinance first and then we bring it back. Got it. Okay. Oh, there could be a lesson on your agendas. So does anybody have any comments or concerns or questions on?
no, is a council member going to chair the committee?
Yes, it has to be a council person. Can we do the nominations or ask for volunteers?
I think that can be like a direction, a motion or a direction to solicit volunteers.
Tonight?
Yeah, I read the old ordinance, and it seems like you removed the part where a council member chairs the committee. I don't see that in here. It says that you will appoint a chair shall be appointed among the members of the Parks Advisory Committee. It doesn't state that it's a council member who chairs the committee, whereas the old one did.
Oh, saying use your mic.
The previous ordinance specifically stated that a council member would chair the committee. This really doesn't.
It says chair and co-chair from among the members of the committee.
Right. It doesn't really stipulate that it's a council member chairing the committee.
So that should be changed to appoint a chair.
Or put a section in here that says a council member appointed from the council shall serve as the chair of the Park Advisory Committee.
Okay. And then, and a co-chair from among the members of the Parks Committee.
And do you think it might be wise to, before we approve this, that we screen or ask for volunteers? I know in the past we get very little feedback from people wanting to serve on these committees. I think it's important that we have a park advisory committee, that it shouldn't just be the council sitting up here deciding what we do with the park. I mean, we've done a lot of things with the park. The park was one of the most important things that people designated when we did the master plan workshop with Mr. Johns. So I would just...
You want to poll the
I would
audience
like
for
to
interest?
poll the audience to see who would actually like to sit on this committee for the betterment of the park.
I agree.
Well,
Show of hands of those who would be interested. 1,
Great.
2, 3, 4, 5. There's 6 right there.
Made me happy, please.
So before y'all leave, could you make sure that Miss Catherine has your names?
So if we could amend the proposed ordinance to include that a council members will be appointed from the council to serve as the chair on the Park Advisory Committee.
Exactly. And how many members would you recommend? We had-
I mean, if
we had
have that
6
many
volunteers?
folks involved, 5.
You want to do 5?
Five.
Doing at least?
We could do, like, can we do at least, because we could always have
Minimum,
more.
of-
minimum.
let's say minimum.
A minimum of 5.
5.
Okay. Okay, was that a motion?
The motion is to approve ordinance number 2019-136, ordinance of the City Council of the City of Sandy Oaks, Texas, creating a Park Advisory Committee and repealing ordinance number 2017-73 with the amendment that a council member be appointed from the council to serve as the chair of this committee.
And a minimum of?
And that there would be a minimum of 5 members from the community.
Do we need to
And then-
include the verbiage on,
The recommend, yes.
yes.
The verbiage, yes.
where we're adding to section 1, where they would, they're going to advise the city council on adoption of rules and regulations,
So you might read all of section 1.
recommend use and purchases necessary to plan, promote.
The duties of the Park Advisory Committee will be act in advisory capacity of the City Council in the operation of city park and recreational activities, and solicit funds and donations for the maintenance and operation of city parks and recreational activities. Parks Advisory Committee shall advise the City Council on the adoption of rules
And regulations.
regulations necessary to plan, promote, supervise, and regulate all recreational activities to be offered by the city.
And recommend use
And recommending,
purchase.
and recommend usage
And purchases.
purchases.
Okay,
I'll second.
okay. You got the easy part. So we have a motion by Alderman Tremblay to approve ordinance 2019-136 with the following amendments. At the end of section 1, we're adding recommend use and purchases. In section 2, the committee shall consist of a minimum of 5 members. And also in section 2, identifying that the council shall appoint a chair from the city council.
And can we make that selection?
Not tonight.
The next.
Yes. And Alderman Rapino seconded that motion. And can I get a show of hands of those in favor? That is unanimous. And y'all aren't getting out of here until she has a name.
Yeah, it's going around.
Oh, good, okay. Okay, item 9A, discuss and or possible action on the cost of the design, permit, and installation of a septic tank on the former Sauce property for animal control purposes. We have 2 quotes here. And they both are using 1,000-gallon tanks. And one has 180 foot of lateral line, one has 110 lateral line.
It's
And
440 feet of lateral. One of them has 440 feet.
which one?
Plates.
It's 110 by 4.
It's 110 by 4 foot. It's only 110 feet. By 4?
It's how deep they dig the lateral lines, 4 foot.
Still
Plates
110
Backhoe
feet.
gave us that footage.
I'm sorry?
Plates Backhoe gave us that link with the thought that we were going to attach 2 tanks to the same lateral line. So if we don't, we could go with less of a drain field, less lateral line. Because it says 2 tanks can share that size of a field.
Yeah,
in
that's
the
why
future.
there's more laterals.
So when I spoke with him, since the original bid he gave us included a bid for 2 tanks, and I told him that was just the one for now. So he said if he uses less lateral line, then the cost would be lower than the proposal right now. But his engineer would advise on that. And that's the same with both quotes.
So, both of them are including permit and engineering fees. And the process is that the contractor prepares the engineered design for the septic system. They present it to Bear County, who either grants or does not grant a permit for that particular design. And those fees are included in both of these quotes.
The plates backhoe, he also includes filters, or a filter in his too, because of the hair. He felt that the hair would need to be, he recommends that the hair be removed, as much of the hair would be removed as much as possible before it goes into the tank.
Yeah, and the facilities that we visited had that in place, so we were already aware that that was going to be needed. I don't see that included in here on this quote that he's provided.
It's not something that they provide.
It's not, I had to call him and ask him.
But our facility that we purchased
There's not much in
has
that.
it on our
It's in-
end.
it's in
that
the-
It's
has a
in the
filter.
kennel.
I'm in the-
Yeah,
in the
it's
kennel.
in the
Yeah, the
design.
drain- yeah, he-
Drain is installed.
It's something
Yeah,
they
he
recommend.
recommended one in the kennel and one on the tank. When I called him.
Okay, but
But
his
you're right,
quote
it's
is not
not in-
including in here, it's not included
Well,
in
no,
here.
it doesn't include a whole lot.
Supposedly the one in the
at all,
kennel
actually.
is supplied.
And he's actually putting risers on this one, which risers are good. Now the one here on, Affordable Backhoe is giving a 5-year warranty. I don't see a warranty on Plates Backhoe.
Probably because we didn't ask about it.
Okay.
There really isn't a whole lot on either one of them. What Mr. Plate recommended, if we wanted a more accurate price, is to get the engineer first to design it and then bid on the design.
Well, his price includes the fees for the engineer, so he actually has an engineer that will design it, and the part of that bid is the engineer's fees.
Yeah, but when they give these estimates, what they're estimating or what they're doing is they're giving an estimate on what they believe the engineer is going to require. They don't know what the engineer is going to require. That's why the price could either go up or down.
So is there a reason that this was not put out to bid? I thought we agreed that an RFQ was going to be suggested on this. And post it and get some bids back. Somebody needs to write the scope of work on what's needed. And
I think the engineer will just tell us.
When you're talking about scope of work on the septic system, the engineer is basically, he's creating the scope of work.
Right.
So, I mean, a septic tank is a septic tank.
Exactly.
The engineer's gonna come out and look at the land.
Exactly.
He's gonna design based on where trees are, where to run the lateral lines. I mean, that's pretty much it. It's
I agree.
not,
We could still approve a not to exceed amount.
we can do that as well.
I mean, we can still do that.
And if you accept that bid and it includes the engineer's cost, then that's up to the winning bid to make up whatever difference the engineer charges.
Right, I mean, if let's say, affordable, we got the quote there's for
Well, it's not
$45.80.
contract,
well, but they have $450 in there. They've identified what the engineering cost is
Right.
on that one.
They both have.
The other one does not identify in the price what that engineering cost is. It's just a single number. So what additional information would you want from, I mean, if we were to approve a not to exceed number, then you still have 2 bids to work with. What additional information would you need or want to,
I think Chris had reached out to I know he reached out to a Partain, septic.
Oh, Partain.
He put mine in, he did my daughter's, he did the smokehouse. So he's done several in this area. He just
Have you heard
wasn't-
from them?
He just wasn't interested in doing an animal control facility.
There's,
So, I mean,
when you put in a septic tank for a house, there's pretty standard estimates of what water is going to be used for bedrooms in the house and people in the house. There's not a lot of information about.
right, a 1,000-gallon tank is a large tank for some dogs. I mean, it's,
Oh, yeah, that should be enough.
And Plates Backbone has said that they have installed 4 animal shelters. It says previous experience installing systems for animal shelters, and that's why they're basing the tank size off of their previous experience.
Yeah, he said that it was in Universal City.
Was it?
So he knows what he's talking about. And the reason he recommended that there be 2 tanks is he didn't want to mix human waste with animal waste.
well, you can't. That was already decided that they have to be separate. Because they are, I mean, the lady that was here last time.
sure, and in the event of a backup, animal waste.
Well,
That
they're
was one of his
different, the
reasons.
composition is different.
Yeah, I mean, if we're looking at basing this on experience and who's done work as far as septics associated with animal control facilities, we probably need to look at plates. And again, if we look at, you spoke to him about the drain, so we'd have to put an additional screen or filter.
He recommended it because of the hair.
Yeah.
He said that the chemical, and also the chemicals that you use to clean an animal shelter, are pretty harsh, and they just, I think he said they inhibit the breakdown of what goes in there.
So do we know, are these for concrete tanks or are these for
Oh, I don't know. I
plastic
didn't
tanks?
ask.
Do we know that?
I didn't ask.
Do we want to call and ask?
I think we might need a little more information before we, drop $6,000 on a septic system.
I mean, we need a
That-
septic system down there. I mean,
Yes, we
gotta
do.
have one.
Right. The building's not going to show up for,
It's a 7 to 9 weeks, and
I mean,
so.
we have time.
We have the building scheduled for the week of July 22nd. So that's 3 weeks and 3 days from today.
What?
They reached out to us today.
And we probably want it to go in
July
after the building gets
22nd?
there anyway. We don't want them to go in there and dig up and so.
You don't want to be driving over
Yeah,
everything.
I move we table this to the next meeting and get more information on the type of tank they're installing and probably an additional cost for that extra filter you're speaking about, Alderman Thomasini.
Well, he said they're not too expensive. It's one that you actually pull out, he said, and clean it once a month, he said.
That's the one
You
that's
pull it
inside.
out, clean it. And-
So what he's saying is the kennel that we're purchasing has one,
Yeah.
but he thinks we need another one.
Well, Mr. Plate did.
He recommended the.
But does he know that there's one in the kennel?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, he said that there should be 2. That's what I'm just, that's what he recommended.
Well, can I get it narrowed down of who's gonna speak at this, because you've been doing it.
That's what I was going to ask Alderman Thomasini. If you've already spoken to the
Exactly.
gentleman from Plates, would you contact him and ask him additional cost for the additional filter, as well as what type of tank he's putting in, whether it's concrete or plastic, just for our information so that we know?
Concrete or plastic, yeah.
Would you do that and bring it back
I would
for the next meeting?
Ask, do you want to ask both of them that, or are we deciding on,
Let's ask both of them, I guess,
yeah?
yeah.
I
I
would,
mean, we got $1,000 difference here, so.
well, that's true, and I would like to see,
Well, if there's a
I think that
warranty-
has to do with the amount of laterals that were gonna be put in. There was gonna be more laterals by Mr. Plate because he thought we might use we might put in another septic tank later for a building.
Well, yeah, but we wouldn't,
we don't know where.
yeah,
I know,
we
but
wouldn't use
that's,
this one.
but that's why, we don't have to, I mean, we can tell them we don't need one with 440 laterals.
All right.
We can always tell them that.
So
And that'll
will-
lower the price.
Will you contact both
Yeah.
individuals? And-
Right.
So we want to talk about the added filter and just a type of tank that we'll be putting in.
Okay.
So that's, I move we table this item till next meeting and await Alderman Thomasini's input.
But again, he said a more accurate cost would be to have the engineer come out first.
He's got engineer costs
Okay.
included in his, I don't see the costs going up
Okay.
because engineer came up with a different plan. It's pretty much open space there. It's not like he's got to go around a bunch of trees.
And I think what the point was is because so many people are calling him, his point is, why don't you get an engineer to design what you want and then call him
Yeah,
for the price to install.
it's not so
Because
much
there's
what
too
we
many
want
people
as to
calling.
what
They're
is
gonna tell
required.
us what,
The engineer's going to design it so that Bear County issues the permit and passes the inspection because not only do they issue the permit, they'll come back and inspect it when he's done because he can't cover that hole up until Bear County tells him he can.
and they have to have it put in within a week. So you gotta have, from the time you start doing it until the time the last inspection has to be a week.
Understand?
So we're
So it did
working
go on
under
for a
a,
long time. They make you finish it within a week.
So the motion was to table to the next meeting.
okay,
Second.
and we have a second. So Alderman Trembley's made a motion to table item 9A until the next meeting. We have a second by Alderman Rapino. Can I get a show of hands of those in favor? Okay, that is unanimous. Item 9, did you raise your hand?
Oh, I was talking to Mr. Rogers, I'm sorry. What was it again?
My bad.
Motion to table till
Oh,
next
okay,
meeting.
yes.
Okay, thank
Sorry,
you.
I was,
Okay, item 9B. Discuss and/or possible action on ordinance 2019-135, creating trap neuter return policy. I have that. So we talked about this previously and have been working with the advisory committee, the Animal Control Advisory Committee, and this was structured based on another ordinance that you had found on a similar
Ally.
program.
It was a recommendation from alleycats.org, who
That's
had
right.
worked extensively with Montgomery County, and this is kind of a model ordinance. The ordinance that they did have, though, was incorporated into the animal control ordinance, so it covered all the county's animal control issues. But this is just the sections related to the trap neuter release program.
Perfect.
And then there is a section that does, where there are inconsistencies with the city's animal control ordinance, such as an owner cannot keep more than 7 animals, I believe. It excludes what would be feral cats or cat colonies that are registered with the city from that number.
Okay.
Also, keeping animals fenced in, that would not be, they would also be excluded. And restrained, they would also be excluded under the animal control ordinance based on this ordinance.
do we need to charge a fee?
No, they had a fee, and that's, it's left up to council on whether there needs to be or some sort of registration.
Register the colonies.
Mhm. And whether the administration of keeping that registration would, if it would cost the city something to maintain, the city can impose a fee.
I mean, they're already fine.
I know San Antonio, the Feral Cat Coalition, they have a registration process, but there's no fee. It's just the purpose of being able to register so that they don't get in trouble for having too many animals. So, you know, somebody could misrepresent that they're hoarding animals.
So can we remove that line?
Which one?
One-time
Oh, the fee?
non-refundable registration fee of shall be paid with registration?
I would strike that last line, yes. We still want them to register, but there would be no fee for that.
You're just scratching the one time, just that second sentence.
The second sentence, yes.
And just, if y'all do, if that is scratched with the motion, section 7 and 8 would change. It would not, the ordinance wouldn't be effective on publication, it'd be effective today. Or if council wants to impose a
Well, that's what
regular
mine
date.
says. Ordinance shall take effect immediately.
Oh, I'm sorry, I sent an updated version.
Oh,
to
okay.
Captain Zoo. Okay.
Why did y'all want to update it? Well,
This was in it.
oh, it's in your trailer.
Oh, for
may be
publication.
better.
Oh, because of the fee.
But, yeah, then that.
So this
the one
would,
you
this
have,
would work
yes.
then. Okay.
You had them out on the table.
Do we need the owner's permission to neuter them?
Which section are you reading?
Well,
No, what section are you reading?
section 2F. No, I'm just asking if we do need it.
These are ferals. They're not, we're not dealing with owned cats. They're feral.
But it's, if there is an owner and a cat is found wandering loose, it gives the city or the animal control officer the authority to trap the cat, neuter it, ear tip it. That is, I think that's typical of TNR programs.
No, it is. But we need to make sure that owners are getting their cats microchipped as well, because if he traps a cat, he could scan it and find out if it has an owner.
Would do.
But then the microchipping's in the animal control ordinance.
It is, yes. And typically, your feral cats are not, you don't get the opportunity to approach them. Yeah. Yeah.
I would learn it.
Mhm. So other than section 4, is there any other item that anyone wants to address?
Oh, I was just, a question on number 2F again, it says we're gonna humanely trapping them for vaccinating. I guess, are we gonna be trapping them every year to vaccinate them?
No.
Just one time?
Just the one time. There's,
Is there, when listening
an
to
R.
the minutes from last
Yeah,
month,
yeah, my spell check is picking up some things. So there were
Oh,
several
okay, good.
times.
I can't hear you. Say it again.
well, I just yesterday listened to the meeting from 2 weeks ago, and one of the motions was to put a limit on how many we do per quarter. Is that not in the program?
What was the recommendation?
They did, it just said we need to put a limit, but.
Was that from the advisory committee or
No,
from
that
the
was
council?
from
That was the council action.
I think I had mentioned
Yeah, there was a limit.
that we would set a limit on how many we would do.
That,
Just from a cost perspective for
Yeah.
the spay neuter and, so where would you add something like that in here? Or
Section 3.
wait, didn't we address that in the animal control? No?
That may have
Yeah, there
been,
was, it just, Alderman Tremblay made the motion with a second by Alderman Walker to instruct the city attorney to prepare an ordinance establishing a program with a limit of TNRs per quarter.
okay, so we
But
can,
you never,
there was no.
no one put a number on it, whether it was dollar or cats.
So we can,
Be a
Put it under
section
section
3C.
3C,
A4.
how many?
No, to add in A4,
And-
under section A, section 3.
3A.
We'll put number 4. On the,
Is that where you want to put it, or do you
yeah.
want it,
Yeah.
she was saying section,
I had suggested adding
3C.
a C, 3C, but
C3?
I think you can do,
yeah. Let's do it under C. And so what will the, Catherine, what was the verbiage last time?
The motion was, Alderman Tremblay made a motion with a second by Alderman Walker to instruct the city attorney to prepare an ordinance establishing a TNR program with a limit of TNRs per quarter.
So a limit of blank
Per quarter.
TNR per quarter.
I thought we had talked about 7.
That's not many
What's the cost? What's the average?
$28.
for this,
When you got people with 30 cats,
yeah.
and they're just gonna reproduce by the next.
We'll never
quarter.
catch up, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What did you say the average cost?
28.
28.
10 would be too low, 20.
10? Still?
10 a quarter is not enough.
I mean, yeah, after you get a handle on it, 10 quarter.
Right.
60.
You could do 10 in 1 week. and
150 a quarter. It's $28.
But we have to understand also that while we're doing this, it's also taking the resource away from Public Works because it's a dual added position. So if we set a number and it's set, it looks more like a goal, then we've got our animal control guy spending all his time.
No, I
trapping
think
cows. I
it's
mean,
not a goal because
Well, that's why I
it's,
want it to seem like that, it's a goal.
it's a maximum
Max amount
number.
that, right,
Well, what's the objective of doing this? I mean,
controlled
what are
feral
we
cats.
The- To
But-
stop them from reproducing
So if we're only
because,
doing 7 or 8, we're not doing anything.
no, we're not doing anything. That's what I'm saying. It needs to
What we
be,
could do also is similar to Elmendorf, they designate a certain day of the week that they go out and pick up animals. So Chris could designate a day of the week that he gives people traps, and that way he has a schedule too to work on, that he knows Thursday morning, he's probably got cats that are gonna go to Brooks.
well, here's the challenge though. You don't need an appointment for a feral cat
Oh, true.
because you don't know when you're gonna catch a feral cat. That's the
But chances are
challenge.
you put 5 traps out, you're gonna get a cat or 2.
You hope,
My,
yeah.
But
Got her
so-
skunk, right?
Or-
Okay, let's,
I've done that, but I'm not going to see.
let's visit 20. How about 20?
20 a month?
Quarter.
A quarter?
I'm still talking a quarter.
I was thinking 50.
I was thinking 50 a quarter as well. A max. Because there are some people out here who have over 30 cats just in one colony. And I know of 3 colonies for sure. I don't know all of them, but I know of
So if we
3.
get individuals to register the colony, should they not be responsible for taking these cats and having them neutered? If we're going to go with the registration and require registration, why then would we as a city have to go and trap the colony that they're maintaining and manage it for them? If they register the colony, they should maintain it.
So are you suggesting that they pay for the spay, neuter, and vaccination as well? No.
But these are
These
rescued ferals
these are stray
The
animals.
rescues.
that are then
No, they're
turned
not
over to
rescued.
them. Well,
The ferals are not rescued.
okay, they're caught. They're caught
Yeah.
by the city.
Yeah, right, we'll
Then
catch
they're
them there.
sterilized, then they're turned over to somebody else.
Who
They're
then
just
Who
manages,
then is in charge of that colony of cats.
right. But to put the burden of, just because some poor soul ended up with a pair of cats that multiplied into 50 cats and it's on their property now, it's their financial burden to deal with? I don't think that's right. It's no different than the stray dogs that are roaming the streets. And you're not gonna find somebody who's gonna do that.
Remember, I'm learning,
Yeah.
I'm learning the process
Oh,
here.
no,
I
no,
mean,
no, I
that's-
understand. So,
I just want to, I'd like to see a realistic number. Again, my concern is that our two-headed guy over here is going to spend all his time.
well, we're gonna have another one, hopefully. But the, so just as a gauge, of the 3 colonies that I know of, they each have at least 30 cats in them. I know there's more. Those are just 3 that I know of. So there's almost 100 cats right there. You have to stop the breeding as quickly as possible, or that 100 has now turned into 400 because they reproduce that fast. So to put a small number in place, not to exceed, I understand what you're doing, but we have to get it under control. We have to make a big dent in it up front to be able to manage it going forward. So I'm thinking along the lines you are, 50, and 50 only because logistically it may be hard to even get 50.
Per
But if
quarter.
per quarter,
Per quarter.
yes. And 50 per quarter,
1,500.
let's say 28, that's about, well, I got 1,400 per quarter.
12,000 a year first.
Well,
Yeah, but by the end of 2 quarters, you're not gonna be capturing that many.
well, we hope
You're gonna
not.
capture probably some feral
Yeah,
cats
because-
and have to re-release them.
Right. And there are free options for citizens. If they want to attend a Feral Cat Coalition training, they get the coupon for the free services. They only have to put a deposit down on the trap. That may be something that we could help citizens here with if we purchase traps and they want to participate and they're willing to go to the training and take advantage of the free, then we could somehow make the traps available for them. Now, they put a deposit down on the traps from the Feral Cat Coalition, and then when they return the trap, they get their money back. That's kind of how that works. And I want to say it was $75 deposit
Per trap.
per trap. Yeah, and we have Norma here, I know, is one that has
I've
done this
taken
on her
20.
own for a long time.
Taken 20.
Yeah.
That is, I know you're not supposed to speak, but I've taken a class and that is what's holding me back. Right now, there's not enough traps available.
Yeah.
So you go on a waiting list.
Right.
So I had to chop, and those
And
cats-
while you're waiting,
yeah, and those
what's
cats
happening?
are not mine. I'm
Right.
just catching them, so I don't want to see any more come into my yard.
And I've personally done 7 myself just because one cat showed up and had kittens, and then that one had kittens, and yeah, put a stop to that. So do you want to do 50, or do we even want to set a limit because we know we have a problem? I mean, think about it, the higher the number, just logistically, could we even do that? Is that something we would even get close to? I don't know.
The total amount we're looking at is 5,600. That's assuming we catch 50 a quarter.
And that's per year.
Per year, assuming we catch 50 a quarter. And that decreases our feral cat population drastically.
Let's just leave the number out.
So don't put a limit on there then. Okay.
So we don't want to set a limit per quarter?
So the only thing that we're actually addressing here is just striking that last sentence in section 4 on the registration. And I think everything else stays the same.
So we need a motion.
I do, please.
So I move that we accept ordinance 2019-135, an ordinance of the City of San Diego, Texas, promoting a trap neuter return program, providing for registration, providing for applicability of the animal control ordinance, providing a severability clause, and providing for an effective date with the change under section 4, striking the final sentence.
Okay. So we have a motion by Alderman Walker to accept the ordinance 2019-135 and striking the last sentence out of section 4. Can I get a second on that?
I'll second.
Okay. Alderman Thomasini seconds. Can I get a show of hands of those in favor? And that's unanimous. Okay, thank you. Item 9C, discuss and or possible action on the purchase of animal traps specifically for cats in support of the Trap Neuter Return Program. So we have, and Catherine, there were 3 different sizes, is that correct?
Yes, you have the kitten trap, the light duty, and the fat cat. It's literally what's called.
That's what it's called, this fat cat. So the kitten trap,
Big bone.
is $52.99, and so it says here it's designed for use with kittens, small cats, squirrels, weasels, minks, or similar sized animals. This does not feature the rear release door. Is that a problem for the,
Yes, ma'am.
that is a problem for the
And I
vet?
Catch a
just
skunk,
printed
it
it to
is.
give you a lot.
Oh, well, no, no,
These
no.
are
I'm not talking about that. I
cats.
was talking about for the
These are
Brooks to
feral
be able to,
cats, So they just storm out of there.
okay.
And I only did this to provide y'all options, and my thought was a kitten might not be heavy enough. to-
Exactly.
Forget
To-
that one.
This is an option.
Okay, so we won't do that one.
And I think you can set the sensitivity of the trigger,
But, yeah.
so it'll catch a kitten.
So the light duty animal trap is great for small animals. It works on cats, skunks, rabbits, and other small animals. This trap is the favorite among feral cat trappers who conduct TNR projects. So this is the one that the Feral Cat Coalition explained that would be best for us as well. Those are let's say $75 each. And Catherine, are they still experiencing a 10-week lead time?
That was on their website, let me double check.
And then the Fat Cat, it will accommodate those cats that are simply too big for the other trap. They probably would pick up some small dogs too. It allows the animal to more room to move, and while captive, and is suitable for smaller cats as well.
Their website does still say that they're experiencing a 10-week lead time.
Okay, so that particular trap, the Fat Cat, is $91. My thought, yeah, my thought was that we have at least 5 traps available. Not that we're going to do all 5 at one time, because what we were told is what the Animal Advisory Committee told us was, do not show up with 5 cats at one time. You're going to get looked upon unfavorably, and they're not
They
going
only
to.
do 10 a day.
They only do 10 a day, so we can do 2, maybe 3 at a particular visit. So if we did, one trap session a week, but have them available, because like I said, there may be other people who are part of the Feral Cat Coalition who are getting them done for free. They just need access to a trap and not being on a waiting list. So that would be my suggestion, maybe 4 of this light duty and then 1 Fat Cat, because that could also be used for dogs, right?
And some of those tomcats are big.
Yeah.
Even though they may not eat much.
Yeah, they are. So with that in mind, let's see, 75 times 4. So we're talking 300, 400, just for the traps. Do we know if there is shipping cost?
Free shipping in the lower 48 for
That's what it
the
says.
light duty animal trap.
Are you seeing that? Oh, the light duty right here.
Free shipping on both of them, it says
Yeah,
free
free
shipping.
shipping, so
Both of them say that.
And of course, I'd make sure it's tax exempt
Oh, yeah.
or if I
So we're looking at $400 for traps.
need a motion.
I do.
I move that we purchase 3 light duty animal traps.
3 or 4?
4? You want 4?
Yeah.
4 light duty animal traps and 1 Fat Cat trap
And,
for a
okay,
total of $400.
okay.
More than that?
Well,
See,
75 times 4 is 300.
390.
Where are you getting 50?
350. No,
70.
300.
No, you're right.
300.
And then $91 for the fat trap, so we're rounding up.
Yeah, not more than $400.
Okay, not to exceed 400. Okay, so we have a motion by Alderman Rapino to purchase 4 of the light-duty animal traps and 1 fat cat trap for a price not to exceed $400. Can I get a second on that?
I second.
Alderman Walker seconds. May I get a show of hands of those in favor? All right, that's unanimous. I'm going to pull item D because we were not able to have the Animal Control Advisory Committee meeting this week and did not get a chance to discuss that item. And with that,
Motion to adjourn.
we have a motion to adjourn by Alderman Tremblay, and it is 8:10 p.m.